When you try your best, but you don't succeed. When you get what you want, but not what you need. When you feel so tired, but you can't sleep. Stuck in a river.
Genuinely, enough's enough. Get this manager out of his football club. You're 2-1 up against Wolves, who are third from bottom in the league, who played us the second half. Zero shots on target in the second half against Wolves.
Someone, but it goes to waste. Could it be worse?
Genuinely, all jokes aside now, enough of the banter. At what point do we turn around and say this manager is a fraud and he's simply not good enough? Nottingham Forest, who don't even have as good squad as us, are absolutely flying. Why? Because their manager understands tactics.
When you're too in love to let it go. But if you never try, you'll never know.
I don't even know what system we play. I looked at our formation in possession today. We had 2 defenders and 7. 7 was 2-2-7. That's not even 11, but who cares? You get my point, I am fuming.
I will try to fix you.
It's a joke. It's an absolute fucking joke. My stream is cutting out. I didn't even get to watch some of the game, and I'm glad I didn't. But 0 shots on target and outplayed in the second half against Wolves.
Welcome back to the foot. Your rant did make me laugh last night. I'm not gonna lie, Henry. It was brilliant. It really was. And big up to my friend Danielle that's been recording the songs so we can use them. We have obviously just distorted her voice for the point of the video. But thank you, Danielle, for recording some video. She's been doing a lot of the songs for us recently because you can use them because they're cover versions. So big up yourself, Danielle. Great singer. I went to school with her. Married my friend. Didn't even know. Didn't get invited. Not that good a friend. Anyway, I digress. I'm joking, Dad. If you're watching, how are we all doing? Gents? We well? We good?
Good.
Yeah. All good.
All good. I'm actually old.
Back.
Yeah.
Big games tonight. Big games.
Massive game tonight, Pete. You prick. Do you know what I mean? It's a big one.
We're coming for you, man. We're coming for you.
I'm nervous. I'm not. Do you know what? It's Christmas time, so I'm overindulging. Normally, I don't have a drink this early ever, even if it's a drink day. And I'm already having a couple of bodies because I'm very nervous about tonight. I'm trying to just. You know
Terry, what is considered a drink day? I've never heard that one before.
So I have certain days of the week. I have a certain day of the week when I drink. So Thursday nights always, because I do less content on a Friday. I very rarely drink on a Friday because Saturdays I've got to get up early, take the kids football, ballet, and then there's a day of working. So normally like a Thursday I drink, and sometimes on a Saturday night I drink. If we win a football match on a Sunday, I'll have a few in the evening. Like they're my drink days. Do you know what I mean? But it's Christmas, so I do like every other day generally. Does that make sense? So I don't like to drink every day over Christmas. And when I say drink, I know a lot of people are weird about English people drinking. I don't mean I get paralytic. It's just I might have on a drink day, I might have a glass of wine with my dinner, and that's it, or maybe 2. But yes, I know that. Yeah, sometimes.
So is there any vodka? Or is just wine? So is there vodka?
No, today I've got some vodka, but no, I drink vodka, I drink whiskey, I drink rum, I drink wine, I drink beer, I drink drought.
Drinks everything.
Pretty
much everything, Terry.
Yeah, I like a drink. I like having a drink. You know what I mean? It depends. And then when you go different places, different people's houses, it's good having a quite a wide palette for a drink, because you go to someone's house and they drink rum, you can have a rum. Go somewhere else and they drink gin, you can have a gin. If you're just like, oh, I have one drink, you know what I mean? I drink Bacardi Breezers. It's a bit boring. Do you know what I'm saying? So, by the way, people, you don't have to get drunk to have a good time, but a drink, a social drink, is acceptable, but we'll do it responsibly and all that. But yeah, gents, very, very loads going on. Yeah, Twisted Bubba, I'm in denial. Yeah, that's what I am. I'm in denial. Work 7 days a week, but yeah, I'm off my head all the time. Yeah, nice one. And look, loads to go into today. I want to start with Tottenham, and I'm going to go to Jords and Henry first on this. A lot of Spurs fans last night calling for Big Ange to be sacked. There's many that think it's close to happening. Where's your head at with things, George? And I'm not. I want to sort of frame this question in a way of, I don't think any of us on here, any of the viewers, are suggesting if you sack him, you're going to become world beaters. But is it still right, in your opinion, to look towards sacking the manager?
No. And I look at this holistically, and obviously people have seen, I've not been on the show for a few weeks, but whenever I have come on, I've maintained the view that I think Ange is the man to take us forward. I don't feel like you can look at the most recent results and sit there and point at the manager and say he's the problem. I definitely don't think. I think he's a part of the problem currently, and he's not helped himself in some situations. Like when he come out yesterday in the press conference, said, "Who else do I use at centre back? We have England under-19 captain in Alfie Dorrington. There's definitely options out there. We have Ashley Phillips on loan at Stoke City right now. There's definitely options available, although they may not be to the level required of what he wants. We have options available of young players that can come into the fold and play centre back. So he's not helped himself with some of the comments. And I think sometimes where he is so transparent in his press conferences, some people take the things that he says wrong, and it doesn't help himself. But I don't look at the team right now and say that there's other managers out there, particularly managers that are available, because this is the one key thing that I hate. I genuinely hate when people say sack a manager, but they don't ever provide with an option to replace that manager. So they just want him to get sacked. And they're like, yeah, go figure out and get a new manager. Okay, what managers are available that are going to come to Spurs? I know Xavi's not coming to Tottenham. Let's just let's be realistic.
Sorry, how do you know that?
No, I'm just going to be totally honest about it. Yeah. Xavi is not coming to Tottenham, especially at this point of where we are as a club. We can't attract Xavi. And then I look around and say, okay, you can go try Paul Iraola or Garcia, because these are the names that I'm hearing from Spurs fans. Iraola and Garcia from Fulham and Bournemouth. Okay, they're both above us right now. Fulham actually have a good project going on. They've signed a lot of young players. I think Garcia's there to actually try and build something. And Bournemouth, I don't see him getting pulled out of a job mid-season in a place where Spurs are below them. Spurs are below Bournemouth. Bournemouth have been building again. They're doing something good. So I don't see us going to pull those managers out of their positions with where Spurs are at currently, knowing how Spurs are going into a January transfer window. Are we going to back the manager and so on? I don't think so. The only other name that I've heard is Erdin Terzic, who, for me, all he's done is get to a Champions League final for Dortmund, but every other Dortmund fan says that he was not a good manager for them, was poor in the league, and he played absolutely boring football.
Very, very up and down. Very up and down.
Oh, exactly that, David. So when I look at people say, especially Spurs fans who want our manager sacked, please present me with a credible option to replace Ange, because otherwise, the way I look at it is that we've been in this resolving and going around in circles for about 5 or 6 years now, or probably longer as a Spurs fan, probably just under Levy as a tenure, apart from under Poch, where we have managers for 18 to 24 months. Within that 18 to 24 month period, they have an up and they have a down, and then in the down, we just sack them. We get rid of them, and then it's, oh yeah, let's start a new process. New manager goes up, and then he comes back down. The players aren't good enough. It's very simple answer that the personnel that he's being provided with are not good enough to play the way he wants to play. We went into this season with a thinner squad than we had last year, so we trimmed the squad. People fail to realize when Ange was brought in, he was told to rebuild the squad, not just make the first team better, to rebuild Tottenham. And that's what we've been going through that process of doing. Last year, we cleared out a lot of players. This summer, cleared out a lot of players, and we only brought in one first team player in Dom Solanke to come into that first 11. I'm now looking, and Henry knows, when we had all these shows in the summer, we were saying Tottenham need minimum 3 first-team players, at minimum. So now when I look at this team and say this team's not performing, I can't blame the manager solely anyway, I can't blame the manager because he wasn't given the squad to actually prepare for the season appropriately, knowing we're playing more games than we did last year, double the amount, if not triple, because we're actually going far in competitions. We're deep into the Carabao Cup. We could potentially go deep into the Europa League. And we haven't got the players available. And now he's being forced to use all these types of different players, like Sergio Reguilon and Timo Werner finished on the left side for us yesterday. They're two players that shouldn't be employed.
Can I ask you a question, Jords? I'm not trying to, I don't know why I have to say this because you know me well enough. I'm not trying to catch you out or anything here. I'm not trying to delve a question. You've said that the personnel are not good enough. That, for me, though, is the reason why I think Big Ange should go. I'm not stating Big Ange is the problem. I don't believe that he's a bad coach. I just don't think. I look at Bournemouth. I think you've got a better squad than them. There's a few players they've got. They're very good. I look at a lot of the teams that are above you. Hand on heart, I don't think Fulham's squad's better than yours. I don't think Bournemouth's squad's better. I don't think Brighton's squad's better than yours. Hand on heart, I don't. But I look at their managers and their coaches at their club and the way they set up. Is they have people that understand their limitations and they create a system that gets the best out of what they have. I feel with Ange, his system and his strategy is as though he's got the squad that's capable of doing it, and it leaves holes. So I don't look at it as sack Ange because he's bad. I just feel that it's a bit of a square peg in a round hole.
I agree. I agree with that. And Ange does have to take fault to the fact that his playing style doesn't suit a lot of these players. And we're obviously suffering from that and his lack of adjustments. He's obviously tactically, we saw yesterday, he played with a double pivot, went with 2 number 6s, see if that could help. We played a lot more defensive yesterday because people say he doesn't change. We were very defensive against Wolves. We didn't press as high. We didn't try to, get onto their back line as much. And we conceded a lot of possession. Wolves had so much control of the game. So we've seen the tactical tweaks. My questions or my rebuttal, I suppose, would be that I think some of these other managers have had times to build their squads in a way that it'd be a lot more balanced for the way they want to play football. So when people look at Nuno, for example, at Nottingham Forest, if you compare Nuno's team at Tottenham to Nuno at Nottingham Forest, it's a lot more balanced. His Nottingham Forest squad. It's got Murillo and Milinkovic, one ball playing centre back, one like a ball winning centre back, so it's going to be aggressive, going to win it constantly. Wingers, you got Callum Hudson-Odoi, 1v1 demon, and then Alanga, who's going to get on. He's just pace. He's going to get onto the last balls.
And Chris Wood at the moment.
Defenders. So and then you got Chris Wood. Well. Like they've got a balanced squad. Some of these other teams have more balanced squads. Whereas Tottenham, although yes, we have decent players, Bissouma sounds like a good name. It isn't balanced for what we need Ange to do. And we have a lot of profiles of similar players that all trying to do the same roles, just aren't good enough. We have 3 number 8s and they're all being forced to play as 6s at times. Neither of them can play that role. None of them are good enough for it. So I generally think that, yes, we have to look at Ange and say the coaching at times just hasn't been good enough, especially defensively. I think some of the players are just not picking up the basics, aren't doing some of the easy things right. And that's why I look at Ange and say, I need to see better coaching at times. But I generally think with better players, and if we sign 2 or 3 players in January transfer window, there's a drastic change in this Tottenham side.
Let me ask you something, George, quickly. We've got Newcastle and Arsenal coming up next, which I'll be honest, I don't think we'll win either game. Everyone's got their own turning point, right? People will say to me, "You turn too easily. You got on the manager's back too early." What's your turning point? Like, how bad does it get before you turn around and say, like, this is insane? Like, I understand we've got a lot of injuries, right? But
so that's why I'll be honest, Henry. That's why it's so hard for me to sit here and turn, especially at this point. If we had our full team available, or not full, let's just say Romero and Van de Ven were there, and we just missed the goalkeeper and a few players, and then I'd sit there and be like, all right, this is not good. Like, this is not acceptable. But I also I sit there and I sit because these players haven't been available, and then I look at our best players that we've signed, the likes of Maddison, who was brought in to be, a leader in this team to rejuvenate us and be the creative spark. He's not lived up to expectations that we needed. So I look at him and say, okay, it's a personnel problem again, because Maddison, Son, Romero, they're literally our 3 captains. Neither of them performed to the level that have been required this season. They've all been poor. So I generally have to look at the personnel and say it's not performed. But with regards to the turning point, I don't know, man. It's so hard to answer. I feel like if we got knocked out of Europa League or didn't make the top 8 in Europa League, that's where my turning point would be, because it's a big worry. I feel like this season for me, I'm already. I accepted a few weeks ago or maybe a month ago that we wouldn't get top 4, but I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to throw away the league in general.
Wait, can I ask Henry and George something? Like, since Ange has arrived at Tottenham, is how many players has he genuinely improved? So when you just look at the squad, how many players have you said he's coming and, well, this guy went from here to here? Because the thing, though, is that sometimes it's down to the player to improve. But a lot of it, because a lot of stuff is down to training, the instructions you give a player, the man-to-man motivation, and the little directions that you get them into on a psychological, physical level. So which players has Ange genuinely improved?
I mean,
from last season to this season? Or collectively?
No, just like overall. Since it's been here, how many players? So no, since Andrew said this guy has gone from here to here.
Kulusevski, I would say. I think offensively Pedro Porro, but defensively I still think he's questionable at times.
And Brennan Johnson, as much as we don't like
him, Brennan Johnson has performed, but other than that, you're sitting around scratching your head.
Sar's been better this season.
I think
he has, but he has a lot of bozo.
I think Sar's been steadily improving as a young player, regardless of Ange. Anyway, I think he's sort of just going along that journey of improvement. But outside of that, I feel like he's not really had the impact or had the chance to have a massive impact on a lot of these players. Because like Udogie, I thought he was brilliant last year under Ange, but this year he's been playing with injuries. He's been forced to play every single game, not be sharp. And then now we've seen he just caught an injury last game because he's sort of playing through this he's playing at 50% consistently. So I feel like he would have improved, but he really hasn't had the opportunity. And again, there's a few, like the centre-backs. I think Van Ven would have been one of those that would have improved. But again,
but I think the points that Terry made, which is why I think like you should think about is that Tottenham's squad, quality-wise, even with the injuries, is not worse than Bournemouth, Brighton, and Nottingham Forest. Give me those injuries. Even with all those injuries, the quality is not there. So Terry's point was, this is what a manager has to do. You can't be like, oh, but I don't have my players. If players of a lesser quality are doing much better than you, and you generally have better talented players, yes, you can put some blame on the players underperforming, but a lot of it has to be down to the coach and manager, because you say to yourself that, how is this manager doing better with lesser quality players, and you're not doing it as well with these sets of players?
I keep hearing lesser quality players though. Nottingham Forest don't necessarily have lesser quality players. I'd say Callum Hudson.
Are you okay? So just you're honestly telling me that Nottingham Forest squad as a whole is of a higher quality than
11 right now. If you compared it to the 11 we put out against Wolves, would probably be, if not, I mean, we'd have a few players that are better than them, but they have some players that are definitely better than us. And it works.
Yeah, hold on. Who the hell was rating Chris Woodcotter the past few years?
Come on, man. I think that's part of it to do with the coaching as well. And the reason I say that is I saw a lot of revisionism yesterday from United fans. Some didn't want Langer to leave. Fair enough to them. So anyone who at the time said we'll regret it, cool. I still don't believe, as well as Langer has done, I think he's got 18 goals and assists in the Premier League since he left. And I'm really happy for the young man. Proud he's from the Man United Academy. But I still don't look at Langer and think, yeah, against 16, 17 teams each season playing low block against you, I don't necessarily think he's that individual. And that's what I would say, even about Hudson-Odoi. I think, you remember when Lingard went to West Ham and looked like a well-beater? Pete might agree with this. When Joe Willock first went to Newcastle, looked like a well-beater, because suddenly, for the first time in a long time in their careers, or the first time ever, they had all this space to run into, because people at the time weren't sitting back against Newcastle, definitely weren't sitting back against West Ham. I feel as though sometimes we get a little bit, I think that Gibbs White's looked amazing at Forest. Where my doubts come in, and this isn't about being disrespectful, is I wonder how they would do if 11 men were behind the ball for 80 minutes of a game, like when Spurs play, like when Chelsea play, like when Arsenal play. That's where I look at it and think it's a bit like defending. When you defend at the bigger clubs, it's a lot more one-on-one defending. You get isolated all the time. So I think you get exposed more. Harry Maguire is a prime example. For England, because we were negative, and for Leicester, he actually looked really good. He went into the Man United squad, had to do one-on-one defending on the halfway line, and he was getting exposed every other game because it's a different type of football. So I don't think Forest have got a couple of players that I think big teams would be interested in. But at the same, honestly, I think your squad is so superior to the three squads that have just been mentioned. I don't think Tottenham's squad.
I just feel like when people say Spurs squad, we don't have a squad. We have like 12 players, and then outside of the 12 players, we don't have any subs that are actually of a good enough quality.
But come on, Jords. Whatever 11 you put out, it is better than quality-wise than Nottingham Forest.
But how often has Spurs even had their best 11 this season? The last time we've seen Spurs' best 11 was over 8 weeks ago.
And do you know we haven't won a home game. We haven't won a home game since we've had these injuries.
I think the last time we played our full team might have been that game we lost against Crystal Palace. I think that was the last time we've actually
and Ipswich.
I will say that, Henry, I got to call you out because last night you had a big pair of balls calling for the manager to be sacked. Jords just sat here and defended him, and you've shrunk him to the corner. I hope your girlfriend. Are you sitting on the cuck chair here? What are you doing?
I've stated this a number of times. Two things can be right at the same time. The ownership haven't given him the tools. However, for me, I look at the fixtures we've got coming up. I look at the recent form, and I think the reason I asked George what his turning point was is because when we get knocked out by the League Cup by Liverpool, because they will beat us, that will be the turning point in everyone's eyes. As soon as we get dumped out of a cup competition, and I just the most annoying thing is he changed up his system against Man City, where we were excellent, and yesterday against Wolves, but yesterday. Wolves had the only attacking player in that last 20 minutes that looked a real threat was their fullback, the Algerian guy, and I can't pronounce his name.
Ain't Nouri.
Yeah, ain't Nouri, right?
He's quality.
He won't be there in the summer. But we're sitting there thinking the anxiety in the stadium, you could hear it on the fans. As soon as we got to the last 10, 15 minutes, I could feel what was coming. And since January the 1st, We've got less points in the Premier League than Fulham, Bournemouth, and Nottingham Forest. Now, we haven't had these injuries the whole way through since the beginning of the year. We can't be sitting here if we lose.
We have no Henry, man. At the start of last year, January, February, and March, I'm pretty sure we didn't have no Son. We didn't have no Maddison.
But Son's been off of it for ages.
He's been poor. It's still.
So how long has Son been poor though, for Joy? He's been poor for like a year.
I wouldn't say Son's been poor for a year. He's gone he's gone a level down from what he used to be. He's no longer the clinical player, and
he's regressing.
He's regressing. He's slowly regressing. But don't you think that we signed Odegaard to come in as an option off that left hand side to replace Son? And so Son can only play one game a week. We all knew going into the season, Son's legs were like almost finished last year. He can't play 2 games a week. And even now, you see, he doesn't play 2 games a week, but we don't have the option to drop him. So he has to play. And you're seeing him.
So then you not think with that. Go on, Pete.
I was going to say, doesn't that go back to then your recruitment? Because you have bought players in. You bought Odegaard that you've talked about. You bought Timo Werner and you had on loan, and then you continued him on into this season. I've Hope shaking his head, and I think a lot of people. This is what I'm saying, though. This is what I'm saying. You have other options that can come in for Son, and you can come in for other players, but they're just not of now. You boys are saying that they're probably not of the quality and not good enough to knock. So then, do you then not go back to recruitment, and then does not that lie?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Two things are right at once. The recruitment has been dire, but there's managers in the Premier League that have got less resources that are getting more results than us. Yeah. So at what point?
I just think, though, with Ange, when he was brought in, it should have been understood that Ange is a manager that needs players to play his system. He's very stubborn in using his system. So when the recruitment should have known that you bring in a profile of player to suit Ange's system and you're going to get the best out of him. Ultimately, I see this as a failure from our board because Ange has been very clear in the way that he plays. He's not going to change from that. So you need to buy players.
George, that's the problem.
Around holes.
Ever since you were performing like really well, that brief 10-12 game period where for some reason everyone thought you were in the title race and you never were. After that, you've just been bad. Like you haven't. I don't feel like Spurs have improved ever since Ange's first 15 games. I feel like you've only got worse.
And that's the point around that. I would ask as well. Would a Spurs fan like yourself, Jords, be supportive of your manager if you hadn't have had that 10-game run, which, when you look at it now, looks more of the blip than anything else? So I want to show you this stat. That I read today, and it's that Tottenham are the first team in Premier League history to fall behind 1-0 at home in 15 games. In a single calendar year. When you think of all the shitty clubs and teams that have been in the Prem in 30-odd years, no one's ever done that. For me, with your squad, that is crazy.
Do you know what? Yeah, with that Stat Muse account, it's funny, isn't it? Because they love to use stats like that, but they won't post the other stat. On the other hand, that Tottenham's like the team that's come back from behind the most times. There's a stat that we go 1-0 down all the time is, oh yeah, but we come back and win a lot of those games too. Tottenham always come back.
But we shouldn't be going 1-0 down at home so frequently, though. So
my point is it's presenting balance. Yes, we go down 1-0, and it is a problem that we're consistently going down and going behind to teams. But we also come back in a lot of those games and show character to come back, and that's what Ange just instilled in the team. I think a lot of the times that we're going 1-0 down, it's just been a problem, and at Spurs in general, is the mentality to come back in those games and the mentality to change it around. I just think go on.
No, the real, because again, like, I don't know whether Henry agrees or disagrees, but just I believe that you just lied to everyone here on the terrace, because this is the lie that you just said. You said that you believe that Angie Martinez will take this club forward. Jords, that's a lie. You know it's a lie. Angie, I call him Angie Martinez just to clown him. But see, so you said that you believe that Ange will take Tottenham forward. You don't believe that. You honestly believe that that manager is going to take Tottenham forward.
And with the right players, if we sign some quality players in this window, I think he takes us forward. I think one of the biggest
because you're dealing with Levy.
No, but even when we look at the games yesterday, yeah, Tottenham should have won. If we had better quality attackers, we would win those games. A lot of the games I'm watching, I'm thinking, yeah, if we didn't have Brennan Johnson on, didn't have Son on the pitch, we could actually break down teams a lot better. We're struggling with the low block and we're struggling to retain possession because our players in the final third love to play grenade football. That's ultimately what it is. Brennan Johnson gets to the right-hand side. He sees some space in front of him. He's like, oh, let me put a cross in. Doesn't want to take on his man or actually do anything imaginative. He has no like soul creation in his own mind to actually do something with the ball. So I think if you sign players on those wings that actually suit the way, because if anyone watched, or I take it no one's watched, but if you just do some research on any of Ange's players, he likes touchline wingers. At Celtic, he had 2 touchline wingers that were specialists in taking on their players. If Tottenham don't have that, and you've got 2 players the complete opposite of that.
No. This is disingenuous.
The Odegaard completed like the most, like one of the most.
Odegaard was signed for that. He unfortunately got injured within the first month. Like, what can we do about that? It wasn't like a hamstring injury as well. It was just unfortunate.
No, see, there we go. Look at what Henry said.
Do you know
the key thing is you have to adapt.
How though, if Gordon and Isak got injured, he'd change his approach.
But I feel like he's
trying to change it up.
I feel like with regards to trying to change their approach with the wingers that we've got, the 2 wingers we've got are on the shoulder wingers. We saw Son play his best football when he was like an inside forward for Conte and is running off the shoulder on the counter. Same thing for Johnson. He'd probably be best if he's just running off the shoulder on the counter. Okay, you can ask Spurs to play counter-attacking football, but most teams aren't going to let us play counter-attacking football because we're Spurs. Teams go into a low block instantly as soon as we start, and we're on the ball. So
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. No. Hold it. See, Josie, again, that's the second lie you've now said it on the terrace.
I've seen under Ange, we've dominated more teams in the league. Like, we've dominated near enough every game.
You haven't dominated. Having more of the ball doesn't mean you dominated. There's a difference.
Okay, but teams clearly go in a low block. If we're getting more of the ball, they're going to go in a low block.
Yeah, because they know the reason why they do it. Again, Jords, the reason they do it is because they know if they give you the ball and have you guys press up, it's better for them.
Yes, that's the point.
David, why do they feel so comfortable?
It's the tactic of the opposition team now.
Why do they feel so comfortable giving us the ball? Is it because the players in the front line?
I can't lie. I think part of it is because you are Spurs. If you go to any of the top 6 teams, and I mean this as respectfully as possible. When as a team that's not in the top 6, if you go to any top 6 ground, the team where you are most likely to get points is Spurs. And just because naturally the way you guys are, if you're going 1-0 down 15 times every single in a calendar year, you ain't winning most of those games. I genuinely don't believe comeback wise you guys are that good because you lost 9 games already this season.
What we are.
You are
historically we are, but not this season.
You're like 15th or 16th in the amount of losses you've got this year. So you can't
only the bottom 3 have got more defeats in the league than us.
Literally, you can't be that good.
You can't expect.
Wait. This is what David. You're conflating 2 things to be the same. Like, I never said that we was that good as to why we can't. No, I presented balance. Yes, we go behind a lot of these games, but we've won a lot of these games. We've gone behind in. If you look at the stats, it's probably like 8 losses, 7 wins, or something stupid like that. I don't really know the stat. You can get up. But
you're 11th. It shows you're 11th.
I know
that's all that matters to 11.
Obvious to me. But I'm sitting here and acknowledging the fact that the team we've had available for the past couple of weeks, I don't expect much better from them because I'm not even funny. Archie Gray's at centre back. What do you want me to do?
Okay, no. So you're saying that team there with the injuries is good enough is not better than 11th. So basically 11th is what you expect from that team.
Because this is what I don't get is all you people, especially you have hope. I'm pretty sure prior to the season, you didn't have Tottenham finishing 6th or 7th with our best team. So you're now telling me with the injuries that we wouldn't finish 10th.
Just with your injuries, I didn't have Tottenham in 11th. Maybe like 8th, 9th, 11th.
No, you're saying with our injuries now, that don't count because I know prior to the season, everyone's predictions. No one here, maybe Henry, because we're Spurs fans, we all predict ourselves, but no one had Tottenham finishing top 4. Barely anyone had Tottenham finishing in the top 6.
No, that's true.
When we're falling out from not being a top 6 team to falling out to being around 10th, 11th with injuries, this is where we would be at because no one expected us to be here. We expected to challenge for top 6. Okay, we've now got injuries. We've had injuries for the past 2 months, so we're gonna fall down the pecking order and be about 10th. I'm sitting there being honest.
At what point do we fall to where we say like this is like because if we don't get positive results against Newcastle and Arsenal, which we, to be honest, could. And teams around us win, we could be sitting here come the new year, 2 Premier League games into the new year, and we're 15th. Is that a point
look, even now at this point, Henry, if they sacked Ange, I wouldn't be happy, but I wouldn't be fuming because, like I said, I acknowledge the fact that Ange isn't doing enough right now to get the most out of these players. But my point is that, like we've already said, the recruitment's the biggest issue for me. I think Tottenham's always going to have this problem because the recruitment's going to be an issue. My whole point is you can sack Ange right now, season won't change around. And even if it does change around, it'll look good for 6 months. Next year, we'll be back at the same point talking about, oh yeah, what's happened with the new manager? He was good for the first 6 months. Why is he not good right now? Because the squad's not good enough. It's always going to come back around to this.
I don't think if Spurs dramatically changed the way they played, I don't think they'd be dramatically better off. Just because I don't see how it improves, how you can improve this.
Because you don't think the squad's good, Dave. That's why.
So quickly, you just can't do it. And I agree, the injuries are a big part of that. Because if you don't have three out of your starting 4, 3 out of your potential 4 centre backs, obviously you're going to be hampered by what you can do.
But then wouldn't a pragmatic approach help? If you know that you're missing many of your centre backs, wouldn't the sensible thing be more pragmatic, sit back a bit deeper and use the speed and the technical qualities of a Kulusevski and manage him to now counter and play in a transition? Wouldn't that be the obvious thing to do?
But my point is, like, you know how Jords said Ange believes that he's the manager to take them forward. What is forward for Spurs? Because whether they finish 10th or whether they finish 7th, because realistically, that's where I think they're going to be. I don't think they can go. I think they this season they're already capped.
It's winning a trophy this season.
Yeah, it's certainly a fair point. Viewers, we'd love to get your thoughts and opinions on this. Some believe he's close to being sacked. Others want to give him more time. Some want him gone tomorrow. Big Ange sacked. Is that something that Spurs fans should wish for, or should they be against it? Give us your thoughts and feelings in the comments section below. Do we have any super chats? We've got loads of super chats, but none specifically about this. First one says, Big Ange is Jesus Christ reincarnated. I don't understand that.
Wow. Okay.
Not during Christmas. Let's not do that.
I don't actually get it. Like, even as a joke. Thanks for the super chat. I like the donation. I just don't understand it. Merry Christmas, boys. I wish you... Did you just assume our agenda, Ash? Did you just assume our agenda? Our agenda? Big up yourself, Ash. Wish you all a happy new year.
Same to you, Lambert, man.
New Year's Eve tomorrow, we've got a really special show for you. We've got a Straight Facts special with everybody from Straight Facts all on the same show. That's going to be at 3 p.m. UK time tomorrow. So make sure you're all back here for that, with LB, Dan, Hussam, Mo, Don, Lawless, Potsy, all on the show. So get yourselves, it's going to be amazing tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. Carnage, but amazing. Moving on from Tottenham, Liverpool are flying right now. We are going to touch on that, but there's a lot of speculation that Mohamed Salah is going to leave. He had another brilliant performance yesterday, but after the game spoke, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, but words to the effect of, we are still very far away from coming to an agreement, which suggests he hasn't been offered the right length or the right amount of money to stay. Many believe he's the best attacker in the world right now. For me, he's the reason why there's a 9-point gap. Liverpool as a collective have been brilliant. But I think if Mo Salah was just 20 or 30% off this level, was just performing at a good to top class level, I'm not sure if they're 9 points clear. What's your thoughts on that as a panel? I'll go to Pete first. Liverpool's greatest ever Premier League player, still in his pomp, scoring and creating goals at a level that we haven't seen for a long time in the Premier League, pushing Liverpool towards their second Premier League, their 20th league title, but they're not offering him the right deal to stay. Some Liverpool fans want this kept quiet. Some are really angry. How do you see it as a rival with the way Mo Salah is being treated by Liverpool?
Well, I want it to continue because I want him to go. If I'm being honest, I'm loving this right now. But honestly, if I was a Liverpool fan, if I'm a Liverpool representative or work for the club, I'm giving him what he wants because he is a special player. He really is. It's so different now. It's chalk and cheese to last season. It looked like in his performances he didn't want to be there. His attitude wasn't right. He wasn't playing at that level. He really looks like he's got the bit between his teeth this season. He looks like that determination, that drive is there again. And for whatever reason that might be, we don't know. Only he knows that. But what we're seeing right now is performances of an absolute elite level. I'll just go back just a few short weeks to when they came to St. James's Park, and I tell you that was a superb game to watch. 3-3, brilliant game. However, without him on that pitch, we win that game comfortably because we played at a very, very high level in that game. And every time he got the ball, he just produced some sort of magic that ended up getting them back into the game and eventually took the lead before we equalised. He just watching him play on that day, someone just put in there, used the word demon. And that's how I would describe him because you just can't get rid of him. Like he's just always popping up in moments that can hurt you time and time again. And those players are very, very hard to come by in the world of football now. You're not churning out those type of players year in, year out anymore. They're just not there. And so therefore, when you have a player like that, I don't care whether he's 22, 32 or 42, you have to keep hold of those players. Because you don't know when you let that type of player go, it significantly drops the level of your team, and there's no guarantee you're going to get that back. Now, he's still at the level where he could go another couple of years at least and play at that level. And for me, paying him a little bit of extra money for another couple of years, for Liverpool, I think it's more than worth it. So for me, if I was them, I'd be giving him that money.
Before I go to you, Have Hope, I want to show you something. I want to ask a question, and I just want a quick answer. Would we all agree that Eden Hazard was a phenomenal, world-class football player? We'd all agree to that, right?
Heck yes.
No, what stat you're bringing up?
No, phenomenal. And I agree. One of the best attackers in Premier League history. This is how good Mo Salah is at the moment. Premier League games with a goal and an assist in the game. Mo Salah has 8 this season. Eden Hazard got 7 in his Premier League career. Now, again, so you're taking it from a negative towards Salah. We have all just said Eden Hazard amazing. Eden Hazard world class. Eden Hazard one of the best ever. This just shows the level of performance coming from Mo Salah is at that demon level, is at a level that is beyond what we've seen on a regular basis in the Premier League. The amount of players that have done multiple games scoring and assisting in a season is so low. It's about how good Mo Salah is. And the reason why I think that Eden Hazard is a brilliant barometer in this is because of what a phenomenal talent he was. And there's others in there. And this was a stat that I saw yesterday, and I think it just demonstrates how amazing that particular area of Mo's performance is. What's your thoughts on it, Have Hope? Because obviously I think I get the feeling that you will want him to leave the Prem because, like a lot of us, I'm not going to listen. There'll be gooners that want him to go. I'm now starting to see the Liverpool journalists and the ex-Liverpool pros write the articles about him becoming the Premier League GOAT, overtaking this and doing that and doing the other. And we all remember Liverpool's power in the media, even compared to Man United, who are a more famous team in terms of numbers. Liverpool's power in the media is unrivaled by all of us. But how do you see this? You can try and put your bias aside for a moment. Is this a mistake by Liverpool, or do you think they're doing the right thing?
You see, sorry, I have a New Year's resolution, and my New Year's resolution is world peace. So I don't want to be tribal anymore. I don't want to bring in any negativity. I'm looking for world peace. So I'm not going to say, oh, Liverpool selling blah blah. No, keep him, because I still believe that me and David have the best player in the league, who is called Jermaine Palmer. So let's put that to one side. Salah.
Hang on, you think Cole Palmer is a better footballer than Salah?
Did I stutter? And I'm a stutterer. I didn't stutter.
This season, Cole Palmer is better
Henry
than Salah.
talks football. Jermaine Palmer is still the best footballer in this league. Put that to one side. Now, to answer your question, Terry, I think that
is he Jermaine because he's mixed race or something? Is that what you? Is that
that's
what
his
you?
middle name? That's his middle name. His name is Jermaine Palmer.
I think it's saying.
No, but seriously, going off to what Pete said. Pete's right, because it's like he is greater than Gerrard. That's already done. So like, I don't want to hear anything about scout stocks or anything. He's greater than Gerrard, and he is already in the convo of one of the greatest Liverpool players ever. For FSG, what are you playing at here? Like, Pete is completely right. Whatever he asks for, give him, and let's not have a situation that if Trent stays, Trent is the highest paid, because I was speaking to some Liverpool fans who believe that if Trent stays, he'll be the highest paid. If I'm Mo Salah, I'm sorry, money talks. You are not paying me one. You're not. There's no way in heck that I am not the highest paid in this team. So 100%, and I think for Salah, sorry, I'm going to go one step further. Forget about Spurs attacker. Based on recent form, he's already in the arguments of one of the best players in the world. Based on recent form. Now, as we all know, 30 years from now, Hazard will still be revered a lot more than Salah because of the eye test tax. Because Hazard will always be scored high on the eye test. So we get like wrong. Nothing Salah can do will ever put him in the same convo as Hazard, because Hazard was the closest thing to Neymar and Messi for the last decade.
He's doing Messi numbers now. He's got 30 GA this season.
Henry, it's called the eye test. It's called the eye test. It's more than numbers. It's still called the eye test.
Now, what are we doing?
It's called the Henry.
What's Hazard's best ever season in the Premier League?
Wait. Is it Henry talks science? Is it Henry talks cricket or Henry talks football? It's Henry talks football. So let's talk football.
He could get 50 GA this season.
Do you know what I don't like about this conversation, Henry, is that what Salah, because let's be honest here, Hazard started his career a lot earlier. Hazard was winning leagues at 21.
Yeah.
He's carrying teams from a younger age. So Hazard's career obviously finished a lot earlier because he started sooner and was hitting his heights and his prime a lot sooner than Salah is. Salah only hit his prime 5 years ago. Hazard's was over 10 years ago, like nearly.
A bit more than 5, but yeah, I get your point.
Hang on, no, he was winning. He won the. Listen, hang on. How old is Mo Salah?
32,
I believe.
32. So he won back-to-back league titles in Switzerland 11, 12 years ago. So he was winning league titles at 19, 20 as well, right?
We're going to talk about the Basel league titles over the
Hey, Jords,
I'm not going to lie to you, right? I will agree, right, that the Swiss league is not as good as the French league. But I'm also not going to sit here and start bigging up the French league like it's, oh my God, amazing in terms of competitiveness.
Terry, don't do that. Terry, don't do that. Terry, don't do that. What Hazard did with Lille is far more impressive than what Salah did. Don't do that. Terry, don't do that.
No, listen. I agree that Eden Hazard at Lille and what they did that season is better than what Mo Salah did when he was at Basel. But let us not pretend that he wasn't playing well for Basel, because he did play games. The first season they won the league, he played 50 games. The second season they won the league. He left halfway through that season, but still got a medal. But why did he leave halfway through that season to get signed by your club, Have Hope? And I'll use Eden Hazard's own words, because this young man was absolutely out of this world and amazing. So they signed him, and it just didn't quite work. Why didn't it work? Because he joined Chelsea in an era where very few of your young players got chances, opportunities, and the time to develop. He left, did very, very well at Fiorentina, very well at Roma, and then went back to... So this idea that Mo Salah hasn't been performing since he was a young player is just a myth. He has been playing at a high level, at league and Champions League level, since he was 19 years old in Europe as well. What he didn't have is the hype and the attention that Eden Hazard had. That's fair. And Eden Hazard was amazing, and he absolutely deserved it. But the idea that Salah just appeared from nowhere at 24 years old and started playing well, it's disingenuous to the facts. And now, I want to be very clear to Chelsea fans. I've not said one disrespectful thing about Eden Hazard.
Yes, you have.
This is the no, I haven't. This is the difference. I don't need in a debate to slag off Hazard in any capacity to promote or prop up how good I think Mo Salah is. I don't need to attack another player. If you have to attack Mo Salah or lie about him, I believe you've instantly lost the debate.
Sorry, I'm here for world peace. I literally just said that my New Year's resolution is world peace. I'm not here to slag anyone off.
Bro, that's what a lot of bad leaders of countries used to say. I'm here for peace. You know, there's a lot of bad
no, but sorry, I'm really here for peace. I'm not like Trump. No, but here's my thing. No, I think Jords' points was Salah was performing at Fiorentina and Roma. But what Jords was trying to say is that when he really hits those heights of, whoa, let's have a convo about this guy in the world class was once he came into Liverpool in that first season and broke the goal scoring record. That's when he's like, okay, let's take this guy seriously. Eden Hazard, he was since Lille, he was a jewel. Like, I think that like Hazard was one of those special players. Okay, this guy's a special guy. Hence why one of the worst crimes in history was him not performing at Real Madrid. That is the biggest loss in football. That's an Nazaro's being grenaded when he was at Inter Milan. Yeah. But my thing though is for Salah, FSG, if there's anybody, here's the thing. Let's say it's a choice because Trent, there's now hints of Trent going to Real Madrid, and Trent is key. If let's say it's a budget thing, and you can only choose Trent or Salah, you can survive without Trent. You can survive without Salah. Liverpool can survive without Trent would be a big loss, but they can survive without Trent.
I will say this about Mo is that, and you're absolutely spot on when you say that. And Liverpool fans have got to digest this. You may never have an attacker in your lifetime as good as Mo Salah again, because you are talking about creme de la creme, tip top. Even when you look at all the other great clubs in Europe, and Liverpool are definitely one of them, and you look at their top one or top two attackers, I think Mo Salah sits in that for Liverpool. Look at the age of some of those attackers, or how long it's been since they had one of that level. A few clubs have got a number on that list, like Real Madrid. But Real Madrid, I feel like, are a different breed to everybody else, if that makes sense. When you look at a lot of teams, do you ever think Barcelona are probably never going to have another Lionel Messi? In fairness, Real Madrid will never have another Cristiano Ronaldo as an example. Not just someone that plays well, but is consistent, that has high levels of output. It might take 20, 30, 40 years to get somebody else like that. And I just feel with Salah, he looks fit, he looks healthy. I saw a comment earlier, I don't know if I starred it, that said the moment he gets the contract, he will deflate. This man has scored over 20 goals every season so far since he's been at Liverpool. The idea that when he got his last new deal, there was this notion, I remember Igal pushed this because it happened to Aubameyang. You know, when players get these big deals, they just fall off. Mo Salah didn't. Liverpool had a few years where they fell off a little bit. We now know why that was. It's because Klopp lost his mojo. You know, I just feel that I really do feel this is a bad mistake. This comment here to me also says he didn't have the hype and attention Hazard had because he has never been as good as Hazard. I understand that logic and it holds water in the argument, but I will also put this out to you. If you go back to the beginning of last season and go back 3 years, there was far more hype, around Alejandro Garnacho than there was Cole Palmer. There was more hype in the media. Again, you're not listening, Have Hope, because you think I'm going to say something bad about Palmer.
No. I'm just saying about how Chris Garnacho was. I wasn't disagreeing.
There was more hype about Garnacho and how good he was going to be than Palmer. Palmer is the superior player by a long way. This is the problem in football. Not everybody that becomes world-class and a superstar has the hype around them. When they're 16, 17, 18, that's not a dig at Eden Hazard because he was brilliant. I've also seen players with all the hype in the world. Pete's going to remember this name. When there was a young Francis Jeffers knocking about at 17, 18 years old, he was picked to go on to do great things. It didn't work out. So hype's really important, and sometimes it bears fruit. But not everybody that's hyped as the next great thing becomes the next great thing. Equally, if you're not hyped at 18, it doesn't mean you're not going to become a world-class player. It's a very, very shallow way of looking at it, in my opinion.
Terry, can I just add to that? And that's why it's so important that for Liverpool's perspective, that they keep Mo Salah at the club, is because it's for that point exactly that he's in the club currently. He's there. He's in a system that works. He's actually doing it week in, week out. And we all know we will all have players that we can talk about at clubs our own clubs, where we've gone and we've thought, yeah, we can go and replace that guy. We've gone and bought a player and they've not fit the system or not settled or not played well. And that's the key, is that you've got the player there. He's there. He's settled. He's playing well. He's doing everything you need in order for you to be successful. You don't want this to be a season that's successful and you win trophies, but then you have a big drop-off because you've lost your best player. And let's be honest, he's their best player. The only
way this would make any sense was if the decision was that he's got 2 years left on his contract. Do we let him run it down and then we let him go for free, or do we set him for a lot of money? There is no I don't see the reason as to why. We're just going to let him just leave. It doesn't make sense. I don't get it.
It's letting him go for free as well. You're still better off giving him this big contract, right? And even if you find after 1 year, you go, he's fading a little bit, sell him to Saudi, sell him somewhere, get some money back. Letting him go for free is crazy. Yeah.
Who's there that can genuinely replace it?
You bring two players in, don't you? You need a striker and a winger. I reckon they'll go and get the I can't pronounce his name, the Georgian winger from Napoli. He'll be one. He'll be one, and they'll bring a number 9 in.
But he plays on the left though. This is the thing.
Yeah, but he can play both. He's cold He
is, but he's a left.
At the same time, though, you look at how much Kvaratskhelia will cost. That's going to be a 80-90 million pound signing, and he's going to. And he's also, and this is what, and he's going to want to come in straight away I'm replacing Mo Salah. So you're paying me 250, 300, if not more.
If Salah leaves this summer, that's
you look at the cost over 4 or 5 years of Kvaratskhelia, who I think's excellent, but no guarantee he works in the Premier League. It might be 3 times more expensive than giving Mo Salah 3 more years. Who, look, let's be honest, any player can get a career-threatening injury, and touch wood, it doesn't happen. But does he really look like his body is about to go, I'm off ski? He's showing, it isn't like, you get those players, Rooney was one of them, God rest his soul, he's alive. Like, God rest his playing career is what I meant, who used to come back to training every pre-season, look a bit overweight. Casemiro last year when he came back, all the memes of him looking like a boss man. It's true. Like, he didn't come back looking particularly great. I just think Mo Salah's a different
Can I ask a quick question? Animal. I think, just to the panel and everyone. So, it's like 2 questions. So, the first question is, where do you rank Salah as an overall EPL great? If Liverpool win this Premier League and Salah hits that 20 goals and assists, where would you then rank Salah in the overall EPL greats?
It's a great question.
He's in the top.
This is my problem exactly. This is it. And one of my biggest problems with Liverpool fans, like those types of pictures in particular. Like you saw Superchat actually referring to that debate earlier. Referring to the Salah and Henry debate. I think my biggest problem with Liverpool fans has been is when they have a great player like this, he has to be the greatest, or that's it. Like Trent is the greatest right back ever. Gerrard's the greatest centre mid ever. Van Dijk's the greatest centre back ever. So they're just gonna force Salah to be the greatest winger.
But but Jords,
he's got to win the Champions League. If he wins the Champions League in the Premier League,
what we're gonna hear.
Henry, if he does that, then we're having a very scarier conversation. If he does both, that's even scary.
I'm someone that fights for Mo Salah being in the debate, although I've never said I think he is the greatest. Some people think that's what I believe. No, I'm actually at a point where I think we have to start breaking these awards into eras. Partly, but big reason being, I don't mean this disrespectfully to Henry or David or Jords, because you 3 gentlemen are probably anywhere between 10 to 15 years younger than the rest of us. You guys didn't watch Ryan Giggs in his pomp, as an example. So for you to have an outright...
I'm glad you had an example, because I thought you was going to try to say something.
No. It was disrespectful. I don't see how somebody of that age can have the debate about Premier League greats or English football greats when you haven't watched. And listen, let's be honest, right? I have seen a bit of content recently from a few big accounts where they start doing debates about players from like the 80s and the early 90s, and they talk about them like they remember watching them. It's like, brother, you were literally in your dad's nutsack, and I don't believe you've sat there and watched 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons worth of footage to have that opinion. Watch a documentary and go, wow, I didn't know all these things. That's great. So I believe we have to separate it into eras, and there's a possibility that Henry and Mo actually go into separate eras of the Premier League because of the age thing. What I will say is that Mo Salah if and when they win this Premier League, if they win multiple trophies with it, you look at his goal return, his GA, he is in that debate and he is a solid candidate. What I would say, if he has a season this year where he wins some more major silverware, if I look at this last, say, 15 years, this kind of the second, break it into the Premier League into 2 15-year eras, give or take a few years, I would say that he comes out as the best attacker in this period. I can't think of another attacker. Some better dribblers, some better technique, some may have scored more, some may have won more. But I think when you look at all of those factors, I think most, especially as he's going into his 30s doing it, the consistency of him, he's a really, really big shout. Of this past 15 years, I can't think of another attacker that I could say, yeah, you're right, was better than him overall. I can't think of one.
I'm guessing that you three, as older, your Premier League greats will probably be any of Cantona, Bergkamp, Henry, that sort of ilk. If Salah wins the Champions League this year and the Premier League does a double, knowing the fact that Henry, during the Premier League, never won a European trophy. He left and joined Barcelona. If Salah wins the Champions League and the Premier League this season, would that change anyone's opinions? Is he the greatest?
Henry, here's the thing. Like, that's why it's a quality thing. Let me give an example. Because again, I think David, Henry, and you may be too young. There's a guy called David Ginola, who, in my view, I believe that on a technical level, he will always be better than he'll always be better than Salah. Like what Ginola, the stuff that this guy was doing for Tottenham and Newcastle, just in terms of just from an aesthetic quality point of view, it's different. But it's a key thing what Henry says, because when we talk about a great, we have to take ability, achievements, and impact. Salah has never had a bad season. Since the first season he came here, he broke the scoring record. He's never had a bad season. So, because again, you have to look at his context. Look at the team he has and look at what he's doing with the team that he has. You see, Terry, I am sort of with you in a sense with the Giggs because of how good he was, his longevity, his consistency. But why I think Salah might have a slight edge is that, Giggs, you did have arguably the greatest manager of all time. And that was still a very good team. I'm sorry, no one is repping Cody Rhodes as an attacker. No one is wrecking Darbibi as well. No one is wrecking freaking Curtis Jones. So the fact that Salah is carrying these food sellers.
I don't get the references. I don't even understand the references. Explain them to me. I'm an old man.
Darwizi is Darwin Núñez. Cody Rhodes is Cody Gakpo.
Oh, okay. It's about Liverpool now. So I understand that, but I just want to say, but when you say like, okay, but Giggs play for the greatest manager of all time, at least with this, again, this established that we all agree that Fergie's the GOAT still, which is great. The problem with that is that he also is up with the manager and the team that has the higher standards then. So therefore, if your standards drop below a certain level for too long, you're gone. So to maintain yourself under the greatest manager of all time, as you've called him's first team for 20 years, to start off as a left-sided marauding winger and to eventually move into a holding midfield player where you were bossing midfield at 40 years old and winning Premier Leagues, that's why I think discrediting him for being in a great team with a great manager is actually crazy, because the standard to be able to perform and stay under that leadership is crazy.
No, I mean, but
if Klopp had those standards and Liverpool had those standards, they wouldn't have kept Jordan Henderson for 2 or 3 more years than they should have done. So for me, I'm not going to discredit Ryan Giggs because Fergie was a better manager than Klopp.
No, that's fair. Huge high standards, and you had to maintain their high standards for Fergie, specifically once United started going. But my rebuttal to that is, how reliant is this Liverpool team on Salah to get wins? How reliant was that Man United team on Giggs to get wins? Because you still had a Kanchelskis, you had a Ipoboski, you had a Bex, you had all those other guys.
That question comes up all the time. Do you know what I would say to that as well? This is where the era thing's important. We weren't doing this 20 years ago. In terms of fans, you and your mate to talk at school, but it was banter. You talk for a little bit of time at work, but no bunches and bunches of men and women with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of viewers per week, but not sitting down, discussing and breaking down every game, previewing every game, discussing. I think if we went back and spoke about all those seasons, you know, the Jose era at Chelsea, the Wenger era at Arsenal, Fergie's era, I think we'd have been talking about these players very differently. The idea that Man United didn't rely on Ryan Giggs is, for me, fundamentally untrue. He had a period in his 20 years at the club in the early noughties where he had some really bad hamstring problems. He was injured a bit. and he just wasn't performing in games. A lot of that actually came from him driving sports cars that were low to the ground. They didn't agree with him, and he started doing yoga, started driving the bigger cars like the Range Rovers, and fixed his hamstrings. In that period where Giggs had a wobble in his career, Man United also had a wobble and didn't win the league title for a few years. He was so influential to how we played. The problem is there's just no evidence in terms of content of football fans talking about his importance. And what rivals are never going to do, because if they don't want Giggs to win the debate or Rooney, is they're not going to go back and look at the thousands of articles that were written about this man and his influence at Man United for that period. Because why would you go and do that research? It's just easy to say, well, I don't remember anybody saying he was influential. Well, that's because one, some of you are about 5 years old, and two, there wasn't a platform to have these conversations. So the advantage Mo Salah has, the advantage Eden Hazard has, and they're both brilliant players, not slagging them off in any capacity, is that content is being made about them, and we're remembering these conversations because they're essentially, if someone deletes the videos, they're kind of immortalized in that way. But I know and I remember, and you can tell the players that were influential, and one of the biggest key points is, and you'll remember this, who are the names being shouted by the kids in the playground when they shot at a shot on goal or they dribble? And I don't have kids still do this when they play football because I don't watch them play other than my own son, and he's only 4, he doesn't really get it yet. But when I was a kid, Giggs' name, Beckham's name, Cantona's name. When you took shots, when you crossed the ball, when you did a skill, those are the names that the kids were shouting out. That tells me Henri had it. Kids started wearing gloves in the summer to play football. Why? Because of Henri, right? Shearer. Like all these things. The amount of times young kids would, especially if they blast the ball from about 18 yards in the top corner, the word, even if they didn't support Newcastle, the word Shearer, you'd hear it around a playground all the time. So for me, that is enough evidence to suggest that these players were massively influential for their teams because they had the same, the way the fans loved them back then and idolized them is the same way that Salah gets it now, the same way that Palmer gets it now, because they are the talisman and they are integral. So I do get your point, and that's why I feel like there has to be almost like an era split when it comes to these conversations, because otherwise you'll never come to a kind of consensus, you know? And
but I just think like the point that Henry is making is, if with what Salah is, again, I know context and everything, but with how Salah is playing, how influential he is, if he does that two flex of I am key to a Premier League win and I'm key to a Champions League win.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm looking at the past, I'm like, how many individuals have been pivotal in a league win and a UCL win in the same season?
Yeah, only a handful of players. Again, sorry, David, there'll only be 4 teams that you could ever pick those players from. Man United's 99 squad, okay? Man United's 2008 team, the treble-winning City team, and this Liverpool team if they do it. There's only 4 teams that you could ever take that example from. By the way, Giggs was in 2 of those teams. In fact, Giggs, to say that Giggs wasn't influential, Giggs actually had one of his lowest GA seasons in the 98-99 season. But if you
is he your Premier League GOAT?
Giggs, yeah. I think the reason why Giggs has never been crowned it since he retired is because of all of the stuff with his brother's wife. You know, he's had a lot of he's had a lot of, I wouldn't call it, he's had a lot of bad press and they've done a lot of bad things off the pitch, which again, when it comes to any kind of award, personal awards, so much of it is connected to how this looks. There's a reason that I don't know if he has done now, but he hasn't even been inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame. There's a reason for that. But if we're a moment, we can just be sensible and separate the adulterer from the football player. He's up there. But for me, probably still, if I'm being honest, I have Eric Cantona a lot higher than other people have him. And Henri said something about him the other day, how it was Cantona that made other foreign players believe they could come to England and play. They didn't ever fancy it as much. There wasn't as many that thought I could go there and really apply my trade because the football was different, the weather, the culture, the food. And, you know, what Cantona did in the 5-6 seasons, Cantona kind of had The Office, the UK Office, there was 2 seasons of it and then it left. And ever since, everyone's wanted a return, but it's never going to come back, but it leaves you wanting more. Cantona did that. He came in, he had 5 great seasons, right? Kicked racism out of football and then just left. And now I look back and I'm like, I wish you had 3 or 4 more because you could have scored more, won more, and that would maybe help you in these conversations. But there's something sort of amazing about that. Cantona's right up there for me. Henry, of course, is in that. I wouldn't ever discredit Henry. Henry was a maverick. I saw someone earlier wrote a super chat, and I want to defend Henry for a minute here, not because I'm an Arsenal fan, but because it's fair. But he said, where is it?
Is Dennis Bergkamp in the conversation?
Bergkamp's in it. Of course he is.
Oh, no. He's one of the best players I've ever seen.
Bergkamp's there. You've got Bergkamp in it.
That's the problem.
Yeah, no, honestly,
he got player of the goal of the month, didn't he?
But Dennis Bergkamp, Dennis Bergkamp, not prolific goal scorer, good creator. He was so amazing. He was so amazing.
On a different level.
But by the way, there's a player that's not even in. There's a player that's not on anybody's. I love players like him. My favorite player, barring David Beckham, though, in that sort of 90s era, when he was at Tottenham, I loved him. And then when he moved to Man United, I was over the moon with Teddy Sheringham. He wasn't as good as Bergkamp. Bergkamp was better, but I love that sort of... Though I don't even know if those players could exist in the modern day game because of the speed and power you need to play football now. That's the beauty of them. Because I don't know if they could even play today in the sense of... I can't imagine Bergkamp and Teddy being able to lead a press. I can't imagine it. To be fair. But those two were just beautiful.
My question is, can Dennis Bergkamp be considered in that conversation if 90% of Arsenal fans would say that Thierry Henry is better than him? Because my argument with Salah is, I think Liverpool have to be honest with themselves, and they all have to say Salah is better than Gerrard. Otherwise, it undoes their whole argument. Because you can't have Salah win multiple Prems and Champions Leagues, and Gerrard is.
I think the Gerrard conversation is
better than him.
The Gerrard debate is going to be very interesting because for years, Liverpool fans didn't want to really include trophies that were won because he got compared against Scholes and Lampard and they were left behind. And you saw this rear its head in the conversation when Souness, a Liverpool legend, did the whole put your medals on the table to Pogba. And suddenly Liverpool fans went, yeah, show your medals. And it's like, hang on, I thought medals didn't count. The Mo Salah conversation is going to be interesting because for some Liverpool fans, they're gonna tread with real, unless they admit Salah's clear. But even how they argue, if the precedent they set in this argument could end, and this is why I always say to people, don't just push agendas you don't believe in. Even if I want a player of Man United to come out on top, I would never push an agenda for that if it meant that another legend of mine that I truly believed in was going to be ousted, and I'm just doing it to like push an agenda today. Does that make sense? Because I wouldn't do that to hurt the legacy of my club. This is going to be a real interesting one for Liverpool because I think a lot of the arguments for why Salah is potentially the GOAT or the GOAT of this era are going to involve what he's done in title races, what he's done in finals and the Premier Leagues that he's won, which kind of undoes a lot of the arguments. And by the way, he hasn't had a lot of personal awards like Gerrard got. So I'm just, no one knows what Liverpool fans are going to say, and fair play to them. But let's do some of these super chats here before we move on. Smith Rowe and Nelson were hyped more than Saka. That is very true. They were back then. I actually remember doing a show, one of our ranking shows. I don't know if, David, you might have actually been on it, where the lads on there said that they rated Saka, but they said that Smith Rowe will become one of the top 10 players in the world.
I remember the hype Smith Rowe used to get. I used to be like, I don't know what you're watching.
Yeah, I agree.
But he's not the guy.
Lampard dumps on Zidane's GA. I test still BS.
Oh, what? Okay, let's not do this. And I love Lampard, but let's not do this for the sake.
Yeah, but it's facts though. If your whole argument is based purely on numbers,
that's why it's not.
No. That's why you can't use numbers.
But they're midfielders. They're midfielders, and we're talking. I think it's fairer when you're talking attackers and strike. It's one of the reasons why I don't do. When I heard Salah and Beckham names being mentioned on Sky a few weeks ago, so are we comparing a right-sided midfielder who plays 30 yards deeper than a winger or an inside forward? I'm just sitting there. I wouldn't compare the numbers of a Zidane. I think Lampard's goals from midfield are a component of the arguments that go into a midfield conversation. But being a midfielder isn't just about scoring goals or creating. I think an attacker is kind of like your primary job. But again, everyone has a different view. Saw Jords debate about Salah. The man has no shame and says Liverpool fans can't have a conversation about Mo versus Henry. Talk to us when Henry's best performances weren't against Villa, Cheltenham. But this is why I've got to call you out here. I've got to call you out about Henry. I remember Henry hurting my team, Man United, that were the best team in England at the time. So to say that he didn't have great performances against other teams, I've got to say that's
remember
wrong.
that goal against Bartas where he flicked it over the guy's head?
Don't. I still have cold shivers because of that. I really do. Are you sure it's eye test, not blind test? Jesus Christ, numbers have ruined football. Only thing Mo has on Hazard. Hazard clears him on everything else. Hazard started when he was like 16 with Lille. Well, we can break that down. But there has to be some facts that come in and not just subjectivity. But listen, Hazard's an amazing player, and I wouldn't ever slag anything off. Mo was in Civil War Egypt. Basel bought him in a friendly. Oh, I didn't know that. That's crazy. That's crazy. Why don't people get it's not the numbers we care about, it's the feeling of watching Hazard play. Last Jogger Benito-esque player in the league.
Facts.
I understand the feelings. I get that. But again, a lot of Liverpool fans watching Mo Salah get a much better feeling watching him than watching Eden Hazard.
That's it. Like.
You know, that's not true. It's not true. Come on. So are you telling me that when you watch Lampard score and win games for your team, that didn't make you feel better? You felt better watching Paul Scholes pass the ball and move the ball?
No. There was a joy there, but there is something about that Tesh, that Lala, that je ne sais quoi that we cherish.
Yeah, I get
football,
you. No, I do get you. Maybe I'm a little bit too, as a younger man anyway, I was a bit too tribal for that. I hated every other team so much. I didn't enjoy anything anyone did. Now I'm older, I can kind of respect it. But as a younger person, I had friends that would be like, why are you wearing an Arsenal kit? You support this team. Oh, I love Henry. I'd look at them like, I get beaten up in my house. My dad would hit me so hard if I wore a shirt of another club because I liked a player. So maybe that's why I view it differently. Daddy issues.
I bet you can wear a t-shirt or a shirt outside the UK. Like, I'd happily wear a Real Madrid shirt.
I wouldn't do that either. Can't.
But I think in the UK,
what if the jersey was nice?
I am teaching my daughter that if she brings a man home who wears other clubs' kits, he's a cheat and you should not date him.
Terry, that's Terry. What do you
do it?
You youngsters have got no morals. You're all cheats, bro. Listen, bro. You lot are all weird. You lot are all weird. You're all cheaters, and you youngsters are all weird.
Let's be free.
You're all weird. You're all cheaters, and you're all into rimming. Your generation is finished, bro. Your generation is finished. Terry, Eric Cantona, his best Premier League. He's the best Premier League history. He was the reason why Man United won all the trophies. He was a key player.
Cantona was that dude.
He was just.
Wait, Terry, quick question. Who was the first to do the whole collar up thing? Was that Lee Sharp or Cantona?
I want to say Cantona. But do you know why as well? Maybe it's a Man United thing. But I also think this is why I have Henry so high on the list. And this is why Cantona's so high. I feel like if your player that you're putting into this argument is loved by everybody, that tells me they were very good, but maybe not the best. Because I feel like the best players of their era are despised by everybody that's not on that. Like, I couldn't love... Gerrard's amazing. I could never enjoy what he did because I hated how good he was. So I feel like if there's a player that everyone goes, oh, everyone just loved him every day, he was amazing. Maybe they're not the best. It's an argument to throw in there. What Hazard did to perfection wasn't necessarily what brought GA, but what he did brought balance to Chelsea's play. To me, Salah is all about GA.
Not entirely true, because when you look at Salah's assists, there is a lot of quality, technicality, and creativity to the kind of assist that he brings. So that's disingenuous a bit. So,
has anyone mentioned Ronaldo yet? Is Ronaldo? Are we saying Ronaldo's
too short of a time? Like, if Cristiano spends the plethora of his time, there wouldn't even be an argument. I think because it's too short of a time.
I think Cristiano Ronaldo, for me, I wouldn't give him the GOAT status because of when he left and when he came back in terms of that peak time. But I would say in a separate conversation, he's the greatest ever football player to perform in the Premier League and to be here based on what he went on to do elsewhere. But yeah, I think Premier League GOAT is about what you did during your time in the Premier League. And by the way, listen, there's an argument for him. He won a Ballon d'Or here. You know, he won a Premier League. You mentioned earlier about winning the Premier League and Champions League in the same season. He scored 44 goals.
That's 07-08 season. Yeah.
And won the Ballon d'Or in that season. So there's an argument. And I'd fight for him if he's the only. But I would still, as a Man United fan, I'd put Giggs and I'd put Rooney and I'd put Cantona above him in my pecking order. However, there's a lot of other clubs who put their players forward. Ronaldo's ahead of all of those fuckers. Like, for me personally, because
Ronaldo ahead of Salah.
Yeah, for me.
What about if Salah wins the league?
But I also feel like Ronaldo is in that previous 15 years I mentioned though. He was gone in
92
he went
2008 and then 2008 to where we are now.
Sort of. There's got to be a split. There has to be a split. But yeah, I mean, I'm biased when it comes to that, though. I'm never going to put a Liverpool player above a Man United one. I'm not going to do it. No, well, that's not true. One that's deserving of it. Mourinho stops him joining Liverpool from Basel. This is true. No tell when Hazard won League Mo was in Egypt. Facts. But I didn't claim that wasn't the facts. I was just saying that like 18, 19 years old, maybe 20 years old, Mo Salah was still winning league titles and playing in the Champions League. Terry, Henry scored 8 goals against United in his career. To remember what he did to Carragher, but at some point, moments can't compare with consistency against the best teams in the Premier League. The thing is, though, unless you got to go back. Even me, I was lived through those moments. You've got to go back and watch it. You know, there's some people that have bad nostalgia where, Henry never had a bad game. Of course he did. But he also had loads of games where he was influential and maybe didn't get on the score sheet. But unless you watch that game, you've got no knowledge. Therefore, how can, not you, Camus, if someone's 20 years old, I don't believe they've watched enough of Henry to fight for him or against him. You didn't watch him. You were literally not born or a baby. So therefore, you can't have, unless you can prove to me that you've watched. And especially if you're not an Arsenal fan, you're telling me you've watched 5 years worth of Arsenal games, so you can have an opinion on Henry. That's why I think we've got to break it into eras.
My memory of Henry is when he came back bald with a beard.
and that is another Henry to be judging.
Yeah, that's. By the way, he was still better than all of Arsenal's other strikers. Then he was so good.
Like Cantona left the league before I was born, so I can't can't even talk about.
No, I agree.
So David, who's your Premier League GOAT?
My Premier League GOAT? Oh, that's a great question. I actually don't know.
So that's for me. It's still Henry. Unless Salah does something this season, for me, it's Henry still the GOAT for me.
I hear you on that. I hear you.
I know Mo Salah's definitely. He might. I have to think about it, but he's in the top 3, 100%. From what I remember of the Prem, he's definitely in there.
Yeah, for you, your generation. I can't think of. I mean, for your generation, like. Why is KDB not in the mix?
KDB is in the mix, 100%.
Because I'm just throwing in goals,
like
assists, technique. He does all the things that people say that are not at GA. Plus, he has GA. He has trophies. He has trebles. He's got to be in it for this generation. He has to be in it.
KDB, Mo Salah, Aguero, Yaya Toure, Hazard,
Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney for sure. Wait, hold on. Aguero.
See, I feel like Wayne Rooney goes into the other era because I feel like
my memories of Rooney. I remember Rooney like when he scored the overhead kick. That's when I start remembering Rooney, and then he started moving further and further back, and then he ended up at Everton.
Okay,
I'm seeing the back end of a lot.
That's like me saying, "Oh yeah, I remember Hazard. When did you watch him first? I watched him when he moved to Real Madrid." Like he said, that's not Eden Hazard. Do you know what I mean? That's a different player. Hazard took a season off, mate. Only one comparison is Henry. The funny thing about eye test is that stupid people. Roms is not stupid. Sorry. Have eyes too. Salah is miles clear of Hazard because Henry is brought to the convo.
It's not miles ahead.
Why does Terry look like he's absolutely dreading the Newcastle game later? Because I am. Because I'm shitting my pants. Do you know what I mean? Please. I have been turtlenecking, turtle heading all day. So what the fuck's a turtleneck? It's a jumper, innit? All day over that game. I really have been.
Like me tonight. I'm not really the one things backwards.
This is the super chat off topic, but it says afternoon. Happy Liverpool did not buy Timo Werner in 2020. Got laughed at by rivals. We got Jota instead. Chelsea and Tottenham got mugged. That's true. It is true. It is true.
The Champions League at Chelsea.
Got a Champions
League. Don't please don't remember.
Guys, just changing the subject away from this for a moment. There's a couple of links in the papers. Kingsley Coman, Mohamed Kudus at 100 million. A link to potential moves to Arsenal. We know Saka's going to be out for 2 to 3 months. Can you see any of these deals happening, or should it be Arsenal that take the initiative, bid the money, and just get it done, regardless of what the
how much did you say
vendor
for Kudus?
says? Kudus, West Ham have briefed the media saying it will cost 100 million to get him. There's other links to players like Kingsley, Coman, and other attackers. But what do you think Arsenal will do, or what should they do in this January window?
The thing is, everyone knows, every single team knows Arsenal are crying out for a forward now. So the price has gone up 15, 20% regardless. I think Mohamed Kudus, the way he plays, would 100% be effective. I think he's another one that potentially could be at Liverpool in a couple of years as well. But £100 million mid-season, that's extortionate. They're looking at that Egyptian as well. Is it Mamouche from Frankfurt?
Mamouche, yeah.
He's a good player. Well, however you pronounce it, I'm
shut your Mamouche. Shut your Mamouche, Henry.
Yeah,
that's almost. What did you say the other day? What did you say the other day?
Oh, it was dilemma backwards.
But what did you say? How did you say it?
Yeah, I didn't say dilemma.
You didn't say dilemma. No, you said dimella. You said that's a dimella.
Yeah, Eric Lamella dilemma. Anyway, I think that Kudus, there's no chance, absolutely no chance West Ham sell. Arsenal not going to pay 100 million for him. Kingsley Coman now, his output, because that's what you can bring a winger in, you can bring a forward in, but to replicate Salah's output, it's just not happening by a player that's going to be sold mid-season. Like everyone keeps talking about Isak. I said it earlier on a transfer video. There's no way Newcastle sell. If he's going to go, it's going to be in the summer. I think the one player that will be an Arsenal player come the end of January is going to be Marcus Rashford. I don't think Kingsley Coman leaves Bayern Munich for Arsenal and comes in and gets 15, 20 league goals. He's never done that in his career. He's not that sort of player. He didn't do that at Juve. He didn't do that at PSG. And he certainly has not got 20 league goals in a Bayern shirt. So the other one that I think they'll look at is Marcus Rashford, because he's available according to reports at 30, 40 million pounds, wants to apparently move to London, can play on the right-hand side. But I still don't think Rashford comes in and replicates the numbers. They need to bring in two players. They've got to bring in someone who can play on the left and the right, and either a number 9 or a midfielder that arrives late into the box and scores goals. Yeah. Because if you think Kingsley Coman's on 300,000 euros a week, he walks in as their third highest paid player. They're not playing that for a guy that when Saka comes back sits on the bench.
Henry, you missing the most important thing of it all is that you want a player that's going to be playing every week. Kingsley Coman, if you look at his past 3 years,
oh yeah, he's made a glass.
He spent half the time injured. Why would you even look to bring in a player that you need to bank on? Because for me personally, I know they've rumored 2 or 3 months for Saka. I won't be surprised if it's longer. I won't be surprised if we don't see him until April, because that type of injury, when you're having to have surgery, there's a process that has to be gone through that. You know, you could be looking at 4 or 5 months potentially for that type of injury, for the significance that it is. So you're looking for someone to be fit, to be available and ready. And I think you're right. Maybe 1 or 2 players. The most obvious one, and he's a player that I'd love at Newcastle United, but Brian and Bremer at Brentford.
Yeah, but they're apparently 80, 90 million as well.
You could get him significant.
Now, what sort of money would, if they come up with like 60,
Gordon's just signed a 4-5-year deal. He's just signed a 4-5-year deal. There's no way you are getting Gordon anyway. But if you want, Lookman's maybe one that's.
Lookman can't happen. Atalanta are in a title race for the first. Well, they could win the league for the first time in their history. Yeah. I think they stick with him. I want to listen. I think Rashford is a definite possibility. A few weeks ago, when he fell out with United, I felt that it was going to go 1 or 2 ways. He was going to go at the end of the season, but we get a really good Rashford for the rest of the campaign. Said that if he doesn't start playing, though, that tells me he's going in January. I think he could go, but he's going to cost 30 to 40 million, and he's going to get paid 250, 300 grand a week. It's going to happen. I still feel like you could get Kudus on 150 grand a week. And I'm talking salary here, okay? And salary over a 5-year period, yes, it's a £100 million bid. This is a club, and this is where I look at Arsenal fans and say, we'll try it. They bid £80 million 2 Januaries ago for Caicedo. I think if you're willing to bid £80 million for a CDM, if you have the money to do that, yes, 100 million, I think, slightly overpriced, but let's not lie. Man, even last night against Liverpool, he was the only player and he was doing it all himself. I would love to see Kudus. I don't really want to see him at a rival in a good system where he's got quality around him. I think this man could be a genuine, bona fide difference maker for Arsenal. So if I just remove the bias again, and I don't want them to do well, but he can come and cover for Saka on the right-hand side. When Saka returns, he can go on the left because he's better than what they've got there. His biggest strength is through the centre. I know you've got Odegaard that plays there, but he can also kind of play as a number 9 as well. And he does all those roles to a very, very high standard. For me, if you're going to get charged 80 million for Mbeumo, if you're going to get charged 40 million plus 300,000 pound a week for Rashford, where there's no guarantees it's going to work because of the way his head's in, I feel like the Kudus deal is expensive, but I feel like it's the lowest risk.
That's the best for me.
But I feel it's the lowest risk because I actually think you can put him on a salary where even if he flops, you could probably sell him for 50, 60 million in a year or two. The others, say they buy Rashford for 40 million, 300 grand a week, and he stinks a house out. How are you moving him on then?
But sorry, here's the thing.
I would go for Kudus if I was there.
Okay, so is Rashford still in the position to demand 300 grand a week? Is he still in that position? Because I think that he's not in a position where, like, as the saying goes, beggars can't be choosers. If you've been told that you're not part of our squad, we want you sold in January, and I'm saying, well, my name is Marcus Rashford and I am still worth 300 grand. No, you're not.
I think this is the thing. I think everyone coming in for him in the summer has more of an argument. I think if Arsenal come knocking on the door, we've always loved you, we've always wanted you, we've always thought you were amazing, we can get you. If you got to look at it from Rashford's perspective and his people. If they're saying, fuck United, we've always known you were brilliant, then his team are going to say, well, then you'll pay us what they did then because you thought we were brilliant. If you're telling Rashford as a buying club, we know you're amazing, we can get all those goals and assists out of you that we had 2 years ago, why would his team then say, okay, we'll come for 150 grand a week? Because you're saying that he's that player. You're saying it. Look how much money Kai Havertz is on at Arsenal. He's on a lot of money. Why? Because Arsenal went and said, we think Chelsea are holding you back. We can get you back to your best when you were a massively hyped player with a lot of people around you. That's the issue when you go for a player like Rashford this early after he's fallen out of his club. You are only going to get him by telling him you are that superstar. But you can't tell someone they're a superstar and then pay them middle of the road average money at your. Do you get where I'm coming from? So I hear your point. I view it the way you do. But if you're the agent of him and you're the player, you wouldn't have that. You know, it's like, imagine you're struggling at work and you're on 50 grand a year, and then a rival company comes along saying, we've seen your talent, we think they're holding you back, we think you're amazing, can you come work for us? Oh, great. What you offer me a salary? 35 grand a year. You'd say, hang on, you can't think I'm that superb if you want me to take a pay cut. So I think that's the risk with Rashford. He's going to be really expensive. He's going to do a 5-year deal. I feel like with Kudus, you get him on a lower amount of wages, higher fee up front. I feel like he's a player that hasn't even reached his pomp. He's younger. I just feel like 100 million on a Kudus. By the way, I don't think Arsenal are going to do it. I'm talking about what would be better. I feel like it's a much less of a risk than Rashford, or even someone like Lookman, who's been amazing. Coming back to the Prem after it's not worked at 2 or 3 other Premier League clubs, that's a massive risk. I just feel like Kudus, he can do it in the Prem. He's got technique, scores, speed, power, athleticism. I don't think he's going to demand stupid level of wages. I feel like they should be knocking on West Ham. I think they should be calling West Ham's bluff and saying, I'd start off and go, there's 85. Let's see what the player's head does. Let's see if the player's head turns, as an example. That's what I would do anyway, but yeah.
Do you think Kudus would be a better signing for Arsenal than Cunha? Because I look at Cunha, if Wolves if they're still down in the relegation zone, and you've got the report is 60 million for a player that's got double digits in goals this season and last season.
Yeah, I think
Kudus is better. I think Kudus is better.
See, I think I think
he's a better player and he's a better choice. I think if you just look at, for me, remember Kudus. Go ask any Ghanaian. He's literally carrying that Ghanaian team. He's the best player for Ghana. Look at West Ham. He's carrying that whole team. And if you put a guy with that kind of ability, especially with how Arsenal play, and a guy who is a difference maker and is really good in ISO situations, I think we want to look at the overall package. And also, I feel his ceiling is much higher than Cunha's ceiling. So he's not even anywhere near his potential, which I think could be huge. So it's if Arsenal wants to do it, but it would be worth going crazy for 85, 90 to get Kudus. It makes more sense.
Also, Arsenal don't want to end up in a situation where, like when they should have got Caicedo, they don't do it, and then they lose the league title by a handful of points.
Yeah, and that
player is the difference.
And I just did the maths on Rashford and Kudus, right? So if they doubled Kudus's, if they paid the 100 million and they doubled his wages over 5 years, it'd cost them 139 million. Rashford on 300 grand a week, so a slight pay cut, and a 40 million pound price tag over 5 years is 118 million. So Rashford is cheaper by around 20 million, but that 20 million, the 20 million differential over 5 years, put your hand on your heart, gents. You going with a Rashford option or a more expensive option of Kudus by 20 million? There's 20 million difference in the total cost of those players. Is the extra 20 million on Mohamed Kudus worth it versus Marcus Rashford, in your opinions?
1,000%.
You're signing Kudus, aren't you? 100 out of the two. He's on 90k a week, so they could quite easily put him on 140, 150, 160, like you said, and definitely save money. But like we said at the beginning, they're not paying 100 million pound, and with the whole Declan Rice thing where it dragged out and they eventually had to pay the original asking price, you don't have that amount of time in January. I look at Cunha. I know Cunha got injured yesterday against us, but Buemo must be sitting there. If they call Brentford's bluff and say, look, well, there's 70 million for Buemo. I like Kudus, but I just think the output is what they're crying out for. Who in that front line right now is going to score 15, 20 league goals?
Yeah, 70 mil for Buemo is extortionate, though.
Yeah, but is
Buemo going to get better? I don't think so.
And Buemo was linked more to around sort of 40, 50 million. Which seems more of a realistic.
Yeah, and whatever the clubs are briefing they want, I look at it the other way. I think take 10 to 20% off what they actually get in the end. Because even with Rice, when they got 100 million, I remember initially reading reports about 150 million. That Chelsea did it. I mean, they end up no matter how much we paid, it's been a bad deal. But initially, they wanted about 30 million more than what we ended up paying for Mount. And clubs always start off up here, and their real price is maybe a little bit lower. I don't think Newcastle honestly think they're going to get 150 million pound for Isak, but they're going to say that because if they said it was 100 million, they might end up selling him for 80. You say 150, you might get 100, 105, 110. You always want more. But I do think Arsenal this January, I don't like using phrases like if they're a serious club, they'll do it, just because it's just such a dry and overused expression now. But if they go through the month and they don't really... I mean, I've heard they're calling back Fabio Vieira. If I was a Gooner, I'd be so disappointed if Fabio Vieira being recalled is all they did. I know that there is all this talk about don't mess your plans up. You know, they might have something massive planned for the summer. Maybe they're saving that money for Isak as an example, and they want to wait. And I do get it. At the same time, if over the next few weeks Liverpool do drop a few points, and I know they don't look like they're going to, and Arsenal close that gap, and they just don't quite have enough firepower, they could kick themselves, And I think there are players available in January. You've just got to be willing to pay the money. I don't think Arsenal have any FFP or PSR problems whatsoever. Yeah, I think they've got to go and do it. And Kudus, it comes up top of the list for me. And a few people in the comments said, Terry, would you take Kudus at United? Yeah, tomorrow. I've actually started a career mode on FIFA. And I've sold a lot of players in the current squad. Even that was the first. I even got rid of Xerxes before he kicked the ball for us, to be honest. I did a part exchange with West Ham, actually. They took Xerxes and 10 million, and I got Kudus. Who did I sign? I signed Cole Palmer, right? Signed Kudus. I went and got Palmer, right? No, he's not biased. I bought Palmer, Kudus. I bought Eucharist up front. I've kept Hoyland on the bench for his speed. I signed Belieber. He's not that good on the game, but he's got this. I like the legs, right? I like fast players. I signed Archie Gray. I signed...
He's playing centre-back for you.
He's played DM and centre-back so far. I signed Kirkes. Who else did I go and get?
How much money have you got? Oh, my God.
Well, no, because what I did is I sold... It's FIFA, so I think I gave an ejection of 100 million. But when I put Rashford and Bruno and all those types of players on the transfer window, everyone was willing to offer me loads of money. So they're raising all this cash. And in fairness, right, I got Mohamed Kudus for like 47 million. You can buy him really cheap. I don't feel like I like FIFA as gameplay. It's fun. But the buying of players I thought was ridiculous. So I bought them. I bought a few others and I forgot who else I bought. I bought the young winger at Southampton.
Dividend.
Yeah, I bought him. And
he's only like 18 as well. He's
18, yeah. There's a couple of young players I bought as well. So that's who I went with. And yeah, I feel like I'm just going to rebuild Man United myself on a computer game because, you know, we started all right. We won the opening game of the season. Then we drew the next 3 matches, a bit leaky at the back. And then I'm working out the controls as well. Because 3 goals I conceded, 3 games running. I won the ball in the tackle, but I didn't think I was going to win the tackle. So I pressed tackle again. But by the time I pressed it again, I'd won the ball and then I booted it and it landed at an opponent and they just run straight through on goal. It's annoying. I hit the wrong button, but I'll get there. Long time since I played, long time, and I'm doing bad because I ain't played for like 15 years properly. I'm playing on. I started on professional, and last night I moved on to world class because I won 3 games like 4-0, and I just can't be bothered. It's boring if you when I was like that was a bit easy, so I put it onto world class. I played 1 game at world class and I drew 1-1. I was like, oh, I had to sit forward on my chair. I couldn't sit back anymore. I had to move
jump
forward.
From like world class to legendary as well is like huge.
Yeah, I'm nowhere near that level, bruv. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not a geek like you lot, but there we go. This here says Rashford in the squad only because Bruno is out shows the manager may have overreacted towards him. Man United can turn a prime Messi into a mid-table player. Look, I'm going to say this now about Man United ahead of tonight's game. There are things that their ownership are doing off the pitch that I don't like. The cutting of money to the charity that supports ex-legends, I thought was wrong. There is talk that they're going to be cutting down on the amount of money they're donating to charity. What I will say about that, though, is I did a bit of research into this yesterday, trying to find out what clubs do. There are teams like Charlton, the last time the data was published, who actually were the 3rd highest donators of money towards charities in the UK out of all football clubs. There were other members of the top 6 who remain nameless, who weren't even inside the top 25 clubs. Big up to Chelsea the last time the numbers were out. They're the highest in the country at 7 million. And the reason why I think that matters is, say Chelsea suddenly we find out Chelsea are going to suddenly cut donating to charity by 2 million quid, but they're still the highest donators to charity in England. None of our clubs have got any moral grounding to have a pop at them, right? Because they still do more than we do. But there's loads of things happening off the pitch that I'm not happy with. But the Rashford situation is just not one of them. Alex, and I mean this with all due respect, the Rashford situation is one that doesn't bother me. I think that barring a couple of the young players we've recently bought, nobody should be safe. I don't care for the PR, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm looking at what we're getting from players on the pitch. We need an overhaul. We need players to go. And I love Marcus Rashford, but I look at his last 18 months and I look at multiple periods under Jose, times under Ten Hag where things weren't going too well. And I just think whether it's the stories are true, that he's always had a bit of a problem, always had a bit of an attitude, not been dedicated in training, or whether it's just he isn't good enough, I don't really care. I want a player that is good enough. And I think that Man United fans have got to stop clinging on to, I would love Bruno and Rashford to have turned it around under Amorim and become stars in a title-winning campaign under him. But I don't care much about that as I do Man United getting better. For me, the one thing I got wrong is I thought 60 to 70% of this squad would go in the next 3 years. I think it might be higher. I think it might be more 85 to 90% of this squad goes. They're struggling so much when it comes to understanding how to play this style of football. And that's also pissing me off because I'm just seeing people say, well, let's just play within our means. And the manager is so spot on. We have to go through the pain now so that we're better in a year. We're better in a year's time in terms of the players understand it. If Ten Hag would have gone through that pain in the beginning, I think we'd be in a better position today. You know, if Ollie actually had a style of play and implemented it, we'd be in a better position today. So many eggs have got to be broken to fix this football club that's in ruins. I just hope that we throw the eggshells out so the mice go away as well. That's something that's really, really important for us to fix. But listen, I love Marcus Rashford. I don't want to. I'm not going to jump in on the pylon. If he comes off on the pitch today and scores, I'll celebrate because Man United have scored. I have no personal agenda. But he, along with 95% of the rest of this squad, have got to go, and we have to change it. It's the only way. When Sir Alex Ferguson came in the mid-'80s, it took a longer time to get rid of players there, but he had to move so many people on because he couldn't implement what he wanted with certain players there, attitude, ability, cultural issues when it comes to drinking, and he wanted to remove all of that. You've got to sacrifice. And there were some massive fan favourites that he had to get rid of. The same things that we're going to go through the same thing again now, and Man United fans have got to prepare themselves for that. And by the way, I still don't think this squad is as bad as its performances demonstrate. We've seen Alanga that everyone said was crap do really well since leaving. I'm pretty sure Rashford can leave. He's going to do well when he goes. And people will go, oh, why did you sell him? Sometimes it isn't about what he's doing out. Sometimes you just can't do it where you are. You look at Kai Havertz at Arsenal right now. I'm not saying he's R9. He's doing very, very well, though, scoring a lot of goals. You know, I don't think you'd have done that if he stayed at Chelsea. Just the timing, the circumstance. So, yeah, Rashford for me, I'm gutted, but he's got to go. I just can't do the... I'm not going to do this slagging him off every week. I'm also not going to do the mindless defending of him like I've seen from some journalists. He's been crazy. This super chat here says, simple question for Terry. No waffle. Or you call it waffle when you can't respond to me, though, my brother. That's the difference. Is United better in the first 10 matches under Amorim compared to the last 10 games under Ten Hag? Yes. In my view, the results haven't been particularly better, but I'm not doing results-based analysis. I can see a manager that is trying to instill a system that as the players get better at it and used to it, and we purchase better individuals. And we'll keep getting a lot of people say, oh, so you've got to spend more money? Yes. You know, the teams at the top of the league, stay there, they spend more money. Everybody spends money. I'm not going to be embarrassed about it. That'd be a weird thing to get embarrassed about. I believe there's a better future for us with a manager who has a style of play that implements it and buys the profiles to make that work. Where Ten Hag went wrong, and you can go back and watch the content today. As soon as he told us I can't play my brand of football at Man United, I don't have the facilities for it, I knew we were doomed. I said it before, if I hire a plumber to come to my house, I'm not going to let him do the electrics. He's not an electrician. You know, we've hired a manager with a very specific view of football. You have to let him implement it, coach it, and then buy the players for it. The only thing I then wish for after that is that when we move on from Amorim, the next head coach looks at that squad of players and the profiles, and that works brilliantly for him. And he sees that as great. I can work with this with a few additions. As long as we do that, I'm happy. It's not about the short term for me and going, well, this result was worse, that result was better. Because based on that same logic, my friend, to give you a case in point, I've just seen Everton take points off of Chelsea. I've seen them take points off City. I've seen them take points off Arsenal. Man United beat them 4-0 a few weeks ago. Results-based analysis is not always the best way to go, because results-based analysis in that circumstance, in that particular context, says Man United are better than those teams. We're not. City have been awful recently. Their run of results is worse than ours. They're still better than we are, even though we beat them. So, yes, I do believe we're in a better position now, but we are still so bad. So what we're doing when you ask me that question is we're having a micro-penis competition. And it's not about, I'm not flexing either of those things. It's just, but that's why the question's hard, in my opinion. So you're going to say that's waffle, but I would call that a very, very comprehensive answer to your question, my friend. Thank you. Question to the aesthetic merchants. That's to you, have hope. 12 or 13, Suarez 2012-13 or Mo Salah this season?
No, but what's in terms of eye test and quality, the cannibal. But in terms of overall and effectiveness, Mo Salah.
You call him a cannibal?
He used to eat people. He ate 3 people, so he's the cannibal.
Well, there's something else you could call him that's probably worse.
Yeah, racist cannibal.
Yeah, that's the one. Zizou is one of the players that would bring average players to his level. He made his team look and play better. Not a lot of so-called GOATs could do that. Prime example was 2006 France team.
Facts.
Yeah, but you know, with Zidane though, the reason why when people say things like, "Oh, you can't call Giggs a GOAT because he's played in really good teams," you could level that at players like Zidane. Look at all the club teams he played for, right? That's why I think it's a crazy thing to say. Your level should be lowered if you played in good teams. There's a reason you were in those good teams as well. We bid 80 million for Mudryk 2. It's true. This is so true, Gooners. If you bid 80 million for Mykhailo Mudryk 2 years ago, If you ain't willing to pay 100 mil for Kudus, you're mad. He's superior. Arsenal should try and get Kudus, but if they can't, try to get Cunha, Coman, or Sane and Fabio Ruiz. The arse of the team. Assess the team at the end of the season and look to move Martinelli, Jesus, and Zinchenko out. I hear you on that. I know you got to shoot, Pete. Predictions for tonight, though, from you: Man United versus Newcastle United.
I think it's time. Was it 2013 we last beat you there? A long time ago. I think it's time. We need to get those 3 points there tonight. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Newcastle. I'm not really that bothered about the fact that Rashford's in the team. There was a little scare earlier on that Isak might not be travelling, but we're all good, I believe. So yeah, 3-1 Newcastle. It's time, mate. It's time.
How do you rest of you see that game going tonight?
I think this 2-2. Like Newcastle shouldn't, but I just think United somehow just squeeze or just somehow eke out like a draw. Like Newcastle will play, but I just think United eke out a draw. So I'm going to say 2-2.
Newcastle score 2 set pieces and they win 3-1.
Very precise. I reckon Newcastle win 2-0.
Wow.
Brace from Isak.
I'm really hoping you concede another corner goal. I think that would really make my day. Are
United in a relegation battle then? If they lose this, are they going to be in a relegation battle?
Nah, come on. Now we just take like...
No, it's a joke. No, Terry, don't do this. Do not. No,
I'm not gonna listen. I was having jokes with it yesterday, thanking Liverpool for beating Liverpool and the likes for beating our relegation candidates. We're right down there, but you can already see there is still a difference. I would bet my mortgage that we won't get relegated. There's 4 or 5 more teams that, as bad as we are, we will still win 3 or 4 more games than at least 4 other teams below us for the remainder of the season. Even if we maintain this level, we're still going to finish ahead of the Ipswiches and the whatnot. So, yeah, we're not really in a relegation fight. It's a bit of fun and a bit of banter. The maddest bit is, and this is why I'm not panicking. I'm angry at games and I'll criticize things. We're not going to win our next 2 games. We've got Newcastle and Liverpool. But if we were to win 2 games on the bounce, suddenly we'd be up to like 8th in the league and 2 points off of a Europa League position. The middle of the league this year is so congested that you can lose 2 on the bounce and suddenly look like you're in a relegation fight. You could win 2 on the bounce and you're only you're a few points away from Europe. So, look, do I think we're as bad as the teams below us? No.
Do you think you'll finish above us?
Spurs, yeah.
That's
we will buy. The thing is with Man United, we're pleading poverty. We'll buy in January, and that will also help us. I think we'll sign a couple of players in January, and I think we'll get some training sessions in. Our manager has not done a single training session on his system yet. It's all been match preparation. This is why my club was stupid for not getting him in the summer. But I think buy a couple of players in January, and you get 2 or 3 weeks where you can actually train the team. I'm not worried about a relegation fight. Do you get? Well, that's my point here. I'm not saying we're going to win anything. I'm saying relegation-wise, those 2 things will be okay. We'll be safe. Don't worry. We'll get 40 points. Don't worry.
Can I just add about tonight's game just before I shoot? We're a team more recently over the last week or 2, since we've had our upturning form, that we have been scoring goals from corners. Our corner routines have been on point recently. So if anyone's wondering how we'll score tonight, don't bet against us scoring from a corner. So the fact that you're conceding goals from a corner actually fills me with confidence that might remember that.
Are you more confident playing Man United away tonight or Spurs away at the weekend? Because I think you should be more confident playing us because your record at Old Trafford's horrendous.
Yeah, I think I'm more confident coming to you boys because we've been there and done it more recently. We've been there and won, and it's just the history. It's just I'm
the Man United game.
With the way we're playing right now, I'm confident going into both games and thinking this team is playing well enough to beat both of these teams currently.
If Man United, though, if we lose tonight, I bet it's more about mistakes than anything else for us. Where with Spurs, you get chances against them because of their system. For me, I actually think I've got a horrible feeling we'll lose, but I think we'll lose through set-piece goals and/or
2-0.
A shot where the goalie should save it and it goes through his legs, or a terrible back pass. What I don't think will happen tonight at Old Trafford is that for large portions of the game, you dominate the ball, play through us, pepper our goal. Because that hasn't happened in many of the defeats that we've had. It's been we've controlled large parts of the games, missed our chances, and then the mistakes happened. That is how I see this. If we lose tonight, that's how I see it going. Where with Spurs, I feel as though you like everybody will get an abundance of clear-cut chances against them. So I do. There's that, but I've got a horrible feeling you guys will beat us tonight. I'm not looking forward to it, mate. So there we go. Cheers, Pete. The other game tonight that kicks off a little bit earlier than that. Cheers, Pete. Is Ipswich versus Chelsea away at Ipswich. Do you think you'll bounce back from the West London derby defeat, Dave?
Boys.
David,
comfortably. I'm not worried. And
comfortably.
I'm not worried about Chelsea. Like, we lost one game. It was going to happen. We were never going to go unbeaten. There is nothing this season has shown me I have to worry about my club anymore.
Two games without a win now, though. Start to slide down the table a bit.
No, I'm not worried. No, I'm actually genuinely. I have no. Again, even if we were to lose tonight, I still wouldn't feel like really bad about it. I'd be annoyed we lost to Ipswich because we should be beating Ipswich. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not that it doesn't matter. But it's
remember your prediction
on our season.
Spurs? Do you remember your prediction? And you said,
yeah, and I said, yeah, because you're Spurs. And my
hang on.
What I said was, it is in your nature that when you are, it's almost guaranteed that you win, you lose. All right, just because you're Spurs and you don't even like competition. You just want to look good. It's weird. I don't get your football club.
That's not me, but that is a lot of.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, Villa are bigger than you. So again, we're not doing that.
What are we doing?
They've won a European trophy.
No, Aston Villa are bigger than you. What are you talking about? And Nottingham Forest.
Yes.
Okay, but if you take out that, I know it's very easy to say.
If you take out their success, they're not bigger than you.
No, if you take out that European Cup Villa have won, right, and you look at what they've run throughout the rest, they are nowhere near a bigger club. Who's got a bigger following? Spurs, by far.
You are the only reason you're in the top 6 is because of Beyonce, and that's fine. That's okay.
It's stadium. David is right. It's stadium tax. You're only in that top 6 due to stadium tax. That's it. Stadium tax. It's
not because of football, so I'm not. But yeah, no. Anyway.
Hang on. I just looked at this though. I'm sorry. I've looked at this. Right. So Spurs have 21. Spurs have 21 trophies in their history. Aston Villa have 20. Okay. So let's just go through them though. So have I just looked at cups here and not all trophies? So I've looked at this cups there. Sorry, cups that
Terry, I believe, because I've looked at this. I believe Villa have got 3 league titles.
Yeah. So yeah.
No, they got more than that.
Hang on, guys. So it's 26 to Spurs and 25 to Villa. Villa have got when it comes to league titles, is that in this bit? Yeah, league-wise, Villa have got 7 league titles. Spurs have 2. So they've got 7 league titles. Okay, they have 12 domestic cups versus Spurs' 12 domestic cups. The reason Spurs are ahead of them? Okay, is because Spurs have 9 community shields versus Aston Villa's 3. When it comes to Europe, Spurs have 3 European trophies. Aston Villa have 3 as well, but 2 of Villa's are Champions Leagues.
Yeah, no, they've only won one.
One of Villa's in Champions League. Aston Villa have got more league titles, the same level of domestic trophies as you, and a better European pedigree. They're a more successful and bigger club than you.
Yeah, they're bigger. They're bigger. Like, end of discussion.
But anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Well, I don't know. Again, Spurs are Spurs.
Yeah, whatever. You're winning tonight. Yeah, go on. Get next game.
But again, like Chelsea should beat Ipswich, so I'm expecting us to beat Ipswich, and we played well enough.
So David, you say you're not worried. So is it that you're not worried because you don't think we're in a tight race and the focus is just top 4? Is that why you say you're not worried?
Again, we were never in a title race. It's nonsense. We were never in it. Okay, If Nottingham Forest in a title
come
race.
on, no, come on.
No, they are not.
No, Forest. That's because I respect your squad and team. You're much bigger and better team. What are your score predictions tonight, boys, for the Ipswich game? Go on, tell us.
I think we're going to win 3-1 because we have Robert Sanchez in goal.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to say 2-1. Like, we are conceding because of Grover. So because of Grover, we're going to concede. I'm saying 2-1 Chelsea.
I say 4-0. 4-0 you'll win tonight.
4-0?
Like, Ipswich are open, but they spread like peanut butter.
Whoa.
So hang on, what have you got, David? 3-1?
3-1. Henry, do it. No, do it. If you want to.
Go on, Henry. Go on.
Wait, so you're going to put some juju on Chelsea. Henry, don't you dare put your hex on us. Don't you dare.
2-0 Chelsea.
Good, thank you.
He bottled it then.
But I don't think you're going to steamroll them 4 or 5.
No, I don't think so either. But
they didn't predict that. I did. I'm not a Chelsea fan. This is a great comment. It says the last time Henri got cooked this hard, Kate Abdo announced she got engaged. Off topic, but WWE is coming to Netflix. Thoughts?
I stopped watching wrestling in
I don't watch
2000.
Yeah,
I was a huge. Basically, I used to call it the WWF. Screw that panda. Yeah. So, I was a crazy WWF fan, but I stopped watching like in 01, 02. So it's just not the same as it used to. But it used to be amazing.
5-year period where it was absolutely shocking, but it has got a good last couple of years. But the reason I'm doing it is because it's going to be TNT had Sky had the rights, then TNT with V2, but now it's going to be one fixed price, not an add-on for a channel.
That's good. If you haven't watched it on Netflix, that Vince McMahon documentary.
It's good.
I've only watched episode 1 so far, but I've got to finish the rest of it. I don't call it WWF or WWE. I just call it wrestling. So I always call it wrestling. Do you know what I mean? It's
I call it WWF.
He's the best.
Yeah. I used to enjoy it when I was younger. I just never had the time to watch it as I got older, and that's it is what it is. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in. Sorry, mate.
I was going to say, no, watching it back from someone who wasn't born in that era, how they were getting away with it. It's crazy.
Bro, it was wild. It was wild.
It was madness stuff.
It was wild.
Look, everybody that's tuned in, thank you to the super chatters. You're amazing. Please hit the like button before you go. We're back live after the games this evening. But remember, tomorrow we've got a very, very special Straight Facts with the entire panel that do all of our shows, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, all on together. So if you go to our homepage after this show and just like bookmark that and get it ready, this video is going to redirect you to Hassam's watch along. So go and check that out, people. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless, and we'll see you all again soon. Peace.
One love, one love, one love, one love, one love, one love.